Hello. Good not morning. It is not morning. Good evening. How are you all? How are you all? I have had a weird kind of a thought there, and I was like, I'm sure I should be streaming this something else, but that's our EMW Academy coaching calls that we have them on a different platform and we stream them live into the group, but I don't have to do that today. So, good afternoon. Who have we got live? Give me a hashtag live in the comments if you're kicking about. And if you're catching me on replay, give me a replay. So I can see Claire, I can see Nick Nack, I can see Sonia. Lovely to see you. Margaret, hello, hello, hello. Yes, keep them coming. So this is going to be a really, really good session. And it is going to hopefully spark up some internal thoughts for everybody that watches, and get some interesting internal conversations. Really start the juices flowing, which is what I love to do. So I will be asking for comments and questions as we go, and I'll try and keep up with them as we go. I like to keep it as interactive as possible, so I know that I'm making sense, first of all, and make sure that everybody has got as much information as they possibly could want. All right. So tonight's masterclass it's a biggie. It's a psychology-based one. For those of you that don't know, everything that we do with our clients is based on nutritional science and psychology. And that's the reason why what we do works. We have a 97% success rate because we are using cutting edge techniques, frameworks, concepts, etc., etc. Okay, so the reason why, everybody gets why we do nutritional science. Everybody gets why we need to look at hormones. Everybody gets why we need to incorporate exercise. But the psychology of change is a huge, huge part. And it's a completely undervalued part. Most people think that they want just a meal plan and an exercise plan and all will be hunky-dory. And it's not as simple as that. And the reason why it's not as simple as that is because when we get to our age, whether that is 35, 45, 55, 65, whatever age you are, you've had all of those years of doing things a certain way and thinking a certain way and making decisions a certain way, and you've got to a place where you have patterns and habits and thought processes and beliefs that have got you to the point that where you are. So the reason why we need to unpick that in greater detail is because if we don't change all of those patterns or behaviours or thoughts or beliefs, then we'll just continue to keep thinking and operating the way that we've always thought. Now, if you're in a place where you want to make changes to either your health or your weight or your mindset, then it means looking at all areas of us, not just the physical aspect. So we have to look at the emotional aspect and the mental aspect as well. And that's where we want to dig into a little bit tonight. So limiting beliefs is a big topic. I have done a masterclass on limiting beliefs before, but I really thought it warranted another session, just purely because it's one of these things that nobody says to themselves, I've got limiting beliefs. Nobody wakes up and says, oh, I wonder what my limiting beliefs will show up today. Like, nobody does that. And if you said to somebody, what are your limiting beliefs? 99.9% of people would say, I don't have any. I'm fine. I don't have any. Because it's the same as a mindset. Like, nobody thinks they have a terrible, closed, fixed mindset. Everybody thinks they have a growth mindset and an open mindset, and they're prepared to do, to think outside the box and whatnot. But it's not the case. And the thing to remember is that at a surface level, you'll not be able to say to me right now, this is my limiting belief. Hopefully by the end of this session, you might be able to say, well, actually, when I think about it, this could be a limiting belief. So the purpose of tonight's session is to get you thinking and to get your juices flowing and to think about areas in your life where you actually go, no, do you know what? Actually, this is holding me back. And if I can get you to think around that, then I've done my job and I'll be perfectly happy. So the thing with limiting beliefs is pretty much almost every single person has limiting beliefs of some description. I have them. Some are more limiting than others, some that I have worked on. And almost all of our clients have some form of limiting beliefs. And that's almost probably why a lot of them work with us. But it's like, so whether, like, think about all the different scenarios that, like, obviously people come to us because they want to change their body and they want to have sustainable fat loss and they want to have a permanent solution and they don't want to do quick fixes anymore, right? So that's one side. So whether it's weight loss or setting up a business or applying for a promotion or getting on stage or being able to put a hand up in meeting and talk or even just wanting a better quality of life. These are all the things that most people want, right? Some are more specific than others, but this is essentially where people want to have better relationships, better health, and better wealth. That's the three pillars of life: better health, better wealth, better relationships. But we all have limiting beliefs around all of those. So when we're talking about limiting belief, what is that exactly? Because you probably do hear, it's been, I don't want to say they've been talked about loads. They've always been talked about. It's always been a thing. But a limiting belief is essentially something that stops us, something internal that stops us being better or stops us feeling better or stops us making changes. Okay? So that is essentially a limiting belief. It's really, really simple. And normally, these limiting beliefs are not even conscious thoughts. Okay? Very often, as I said, very often, most people will say, don't have any, I'm fine. I don't have anything that's holding me back. But that's because they're subconscious. They're subconscious thoughts and they come from a very, very deep internal place. So this is where I'm going to start asking you to do some deeper work. Well, as we go through the training. So it might not. You might not even be able to identify a limiting belief until somebody mentions it to you, or somebody calls you out on something, or you listen to a training like this, or you go and do some work elsewhere with, maybe do some CBT or NLP or coaching elsewhere, or even a progress review with your manager can sometimes bring up the brainworm that makes you kind of dig into this a little bit deeper. So until either somebody raises it to you, or you identify it yourself, or you even sometimes coming across a problem that you can't immediately solve, can actually bring up these like, oh, this is something that I need to dig in a little bit more, and this is something that's holding me back. Okay? Now, limiting beliefs are, as I said, tend to be very subconscious thoughts. They don't tend to be, you don't sit at your desk at work going, oh, if only I had a more growth-orientated mindset, would I be able to go and be the director of this department? That doesn't happen. But where we get these beliefs from is normally from growing up. Okay, so when we're young and babies and toddlers, we absorb everything. We're like sponges. And I can't remember, there's loads of stats, so I can't remember the stats, but you absorb so much information by the age of 3, and then it basically gets less and less and less. But basically, we absorb the beliefs of our parents, we absorb the beliefs of our teachers, we absorb the beliefs of people on TV, we absorb the beliefs of people in authority, etc., etc. And they come through how we think, how we operate, what we do, and how the people closest to us operate as well. So it's where, if you think about an opinion that you and all of your family have, I can't even think of an example, but think of an opinion that you and your family have. However, your friend and her family have the complete polar opposite belief or opinion. Okay, that's just simply how the generations have been raised in those particular families. Now, one family isn't going to be right and one isn't going to be wrong. They have their beliefs and their opinions from whatever the core piece was. Okay, now, this is where I want you to start thinking about, how can I tell if I have limiting beliefs? How can I tell if these are impacting me? How can I tell? And again, most people believe that they don't have any and that they are open, but it's very often in the things that we say to ourselves. It's very often just a feeling, and that can be really, really hard to unpick. Sometimes it can be your automatic reaction to opportunity. Sometimes it could be in the reasons that you give for not doing things. So if I'm thinking about this from a coaching aspect, now obviously I mostly speak to people who want help to change their bodies and change their lives. But if I get, I'll speak to a woman and she's like, no, it's not for me. And you're like, okay, well, what makes you think that? That's not for people like me. And that's actually a hugely common one. That is a big automatic limiting belief, that person doesn't believe that they are worth being coached. Another one is, I'm not that kind of person. Again, that's a limiting belief because that person believes that they can fix all the problems themselves, and they can't. There is no human in the world that can fix all the problems in the world themselves. That's why we have people trained in different things around the world. I don't believe in that. So I had a lady say to me that she didn't believe in dieting, yet is going to be doing keto and intermittent fasting and trying all these different things before she finally admits that actually she does need support. So that's a limiting belief, not being open-minded to believe that there is a solution, because that's another limiting belief. I can't afford it, and I've talked about this quite a lot. Again, that can be a really limiting belief, because very often with that one especially, and I notice this with friends, and I have been here myself, that I can't afford it is very much a habit, can be a habit-based reaction. If you think about opportunity, if somebody says, do you want to go for dinner? The automatic, no, I can't afford it. Hubby says, shall we go on holiday next month? No, can't afford it. Shall we go out for dinner? No, can't afford it. The kids, I need new shoes, I can't afford it. It becomes a habit, and it just becomes something that we believe to be true, but it might not actually be true. Another one that is hugely common, I'm just far too busy. Now, people are busy. People absolutely are busy, and I get that. Most people are working 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours a week in the careers that they have, and they've got families and they've got responsibilities and all the rest of it. But having that as a barrier to success is just giving you permission to not succeed. Just going, well, I can always use that as an excuse. When in actual fact, in the instance of coaching as an example, if you want changes have to be made, and whether that is, we're not going to suddenly magic up an extra 5-10 hours a week, but how do we maximize the time that we do have available? And another one is, I'm terrible at X, Y, and Z. Now, I'm going to come to an example with the I'm terrible at, or I'm terrible with. And this came up for me very, very clearly earlier on this week. And my little boy is learning to play an instrument at school. Now, it's called a cornet, and I am not a musical person. I'm terrible with music. And then, I said this out loud, and I was like, that's interesting. Because I've been doing a lot of work in limiting beliefs over the past year. And I was like, where did that come from? So I have literally only ever played a recorder in my life, and I learned Lord of the Dance, and I was so chuffed myself. But because I don't sing, I've never had the notion to want to play a musical instrument, so therefore I'm telling myself that I'm terrible with music. And I'm like, actually, I don't know if I'm terrible with music because I've never really tried. I don't know. Now, telling yourself that you're terrible at something, but not having the evidence to back that up, that's a limiting belief. Now, you could be terrible at knitting. I am absolutely terrible at knitting, and I have given myself several opportunities to knit, and I am not very good at knitting. And I have accepted that, and I have made peace with the fact that when my little boy and I were knitting Christmas trees for the school, that I will forever be known as the mum with the holy Christmas trees. And that's fine, cool with that. I've got a different skill set, that's okay. So it's that kind of fine line between, okay, are you just saying you're terrible because you think it, or actually are you terrible because, you've not been able to do it before? So anyway, that's kind of off kilter. Another story about the knitting, I actually still have a half knitted scarf in my craft box. I do have a craft box. I have knitted scarf that I started knitting for my friend's 21st birthday, and my friend is turned 40 now, and the scarf is still half knitted. So there you go. But anyway, women particularly get paralysed by these beliefs. Women more than men. And just to give you, this as an actual stat that I did research, and this stat has always fascinated me, and it's about applying for jobs. Now, if you see a job advert and it says, or a job description, it's like, this is your desirable criteria, this is your essential criteria. Women are 56% less likely to apply for that job if they don't meet the criteria. You know, the definite criteria, we must have this. Men will apply for that job regardless of whether they meet the criteria or not. They will do their application based on the belief that they could learn the criteria. Okay, and women do not apply for the job because they have the belief that they do not meet the desired criteria. So that's quite an interesting stat, that women will hold back from things because of their beliefs about themselves, whereas men will put themselves forward for things because of the belief that they can do things. And the other fascinating thing that I found out while I was looking at that stat is that women will take longer to apply for roles and are more likely to miss a closing date of a job application because of procrastination, because of worry of what people think, worry about who am I to be doing this, about imposter syndrome, and all these different things that will put women off from doing things. Goes back to that self-belief, goes back to that's not for people like me, who am I to be doing this? Yeah, I don't believe I can do this, etc., etc., etc. So that was quite interesting, and especially interesting, going back to the job market, women, when they go for an interview, are 25% more likely to be offered that job. So that shows me that women, once they get to that point of putting themselves forward, are actually going to get more out of it. So it just shows you how many people are actually missing a trick by even putting their hand up to begin with. Again, if we bring it closer to home, look at what I do here. Like, I think, I don't know if it's published yet, if I've posted it yet, but there was a lady that I spoke to before Christmas, and she really, really wanted to change, and she'd been trying for years and years and years, and openly said to me that she was not worth it. Actually said to me she's not worth it. And there's specific questions that I can ask and go, okay, what would your closest person in the world who is that, and it was our kids, what would they say? Would they say you're worth it? Probably not. What about your best friend? Would she say you're worth it? Oh, she would say I'm worth it. Okay, so why are you talking to yourself about yourself in that way? What would you say to your best friend if she was in that situation? So I just thought that was really interesting, how some people have these subconscious limiting beliefs, but some people are very conscious of what their limiting beliefs are. She was very aware that she didn't believe that she was worth it. And given, here's, if you choose this, what you're going to do. And if you don't do this, what you're going to do. And she openly said that she will just be fat, miserable and unhappy in her house because she doesn't believe she's worth changing for, which is really, really sad. And I think Clara had mentioned I cry quite frequently. She was one of the ladies that I put down the phone and I cried because I don't want anybody to be fat, unhappy and sad and sitting in the house. It doesn't make me feel good. And yeah, so anyway, so limiting beliefs. So 5 steps to identifying what they are, 5 steps to start overcoming them if you believe that you have them. Is this all making sense so far, ladies? Sorry, I said I would keep up to date with the comments and I just haven't. Sorry. Give me a 1 in the chat box if this is making sense, or give me a question that you need clarifying if it's not making sense. Okay, so the first step in doing this is figuring out what they are. And this does require probably a notebook, some quiet time, and digging a little bit deeper. And it's a really, really interesting thing to do. And when I first started doing this last year, I started and I just stared at a notebook for about 30 minutes with a pen doing doodles, because I was like, don't know what to do. But I would think about, the way I would do this is think about what you think they might be. So think about scenarios where you have been given an opportunity, whether it's a job application or whether it's a holiday or dinner out or something. What do you always find yourself saying when there's an opportunity presented to you? Or what have you said? What have you missed, skipped over? What have you not done because you had something internally blocking you from doing it? So what would you find yourself saying if somebody offered like dinner holidays? What would you say if you saw a job opening that was 2 or 3 levels above where you are just now? What kind of things would you love to have in your life but you don't, and then try and figure out what is stopping you from getting those things, because that can actually be a really good exercise to do, and going, okay, who do I want to be, how do I want to feel, what do I want to look like, what kind of house do I want to live in, what kind of car do I want to drive, and see where the gap is, and what is that gap, what is stopping you from getting from now to there, and that might identify a couple of areas to explore. So money is a big one. It's a huge one. And it's really, 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 really common. And I don't know if it's so much a generational thing, because I think it's only maybe been in the last 5 years that I've certainly been in the coaching industry where it's now become accepted for us to want more wealth and to be richer. Whereas before it was always frowned upon to want more. We should have been happy with what we've got, and that is actually a big part of it as well. But we should be, I know, just there was almost a badge of honour in how poor we could be, and how, it's a very weird thing. But anyway, think about what are your opinions about money? What are your opinions about wealth? What do you believe to be true about money? How would you describe your relationship with money? How would your life be different with more money? So this was one of the ones that I actually had to go through, and I think there's for Scottish people, there is a huge stereotype about us having long pockets and short arms. So this was an interesting one for me to dig into about my opinions, and certainly us as a family, we didn't grow up wealthy, and it was one of those things like, well, people like me don't have money, and people like me are bad with debt, and I was in a really bad situation with debt for a long time. But some things that come up quite commonly are people like me don't have money, or I'm bad at managing money, or I just get money and then I spend it, or money is the root of all evil, or credit is evil, or rich people are bad people. And that's just one facet that you can look at with money. But when you look at those questions, when you look at those beliefs, are they actually true? Are they real? Or is it just stuff you've made up in your head to make it seem real? Is there a big sign in the universe that says, oh no, so Catherine Sobers, I'm going to use you as an example here, just because I can see your name and I know you can take it. But there is no sign up in the universe that says Catherine Sobers is not allowed to spend on her credit card because her credit card is evil. Like, there is no sign up there that says that, and there is no sign that says, well, if Catherine even desires to have more wages, God and thunder is going to come down and smite her. That's not how it works. There is hundreds and thousands of maybe not hundreds of thousands. There's a heap of billionaires out there who all do good things with their money. So we know that money is not evil. So rich people do good things and rich people do bad things. Poor people do rich things and poor people do bad things. So that's, you've got to look at the actual facts and not of the beliefs in our head. I'm bad at managing money. This is quite a big one. I can't be trusted with money. My husband looks after the money. Right, okay. So is this just something that you might have been told once and then you've decided to give up all responsibility of money? Or because if you want to have money, no one's going to be bad with managing money. Yes, people make stupid investments all the time. But money is a resource. It's not got an opinion, it doesn't have feelings, and it doesn't have thoughts. It's a resource to help people do things, and it just moves. It moves, so people give and people take. People give and take. So anyway, they are the hard and fact truths about money, and the opinion side is a belief. So dig into that a little bit more if this is an area that you want to. If money isn't a limiting belief for you, then that's fine, but use those questions for what the limiting belief is. People like me don't become directors, or people like me don't drive Mercedes. Well, I don't know. People like me don't, whatever it is. But whatever the situation is, whatever the belief is, think about, is this my opinion or is this true? Chances are it's your opinion. But what would happen if that belief didn't exist anymore? How would your life be different? What opportunity would you have? What experiences could you do that would benefit you or those around about you? Another big one, and I find this, I've heard this a couple of times. I'm really terrible with conflict. I'm really bad at saying no. I'm too nice, okay? Or I'm really bad in arguments. I'm not good at putting ideas forward. I don't really have an opinion. It all comes back to this kind of same self-belief part. So digging into this one a little bit more, think about, okay, do I believe these things because it gives me a reason to just not enter into conflict, and it's me being lazy because I can't be bothered? Is it giving people a reason to treat us poorly? Is it a reason to not get involved in things and to have an easy life? Or is it a belief or esteem thing? So dig into that one. If this is this is actually quite common, but it comes in there's different keywords. So have a think about this one. And again, you have to go back. You have to go back into your childhood. You have to go back into your family's beliefs. Where do the beliefs come from? Is it because your granny said to you when you were 3, oh, you'll do anything to avoid a fight? Or, oh, look at you, you're just being so nice and giving people what they want. It is literally as simple as it could be comments like that have caused all these things. I've worked with hundreds of women that have been overweight and yo-yo dieted all their life because their Auntie Sandra called them a wee chub when they were little. Genuinely, comments like that can cause a lifetime of havoc. So think about it. Think about previous outcomes where maybe you have entered into conflict, or you have had an argument, or you have put your hand up, or you have voiced an opinion and it's not going down well, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do that again. There's all of these different things to think about. And again, think about, is this really true? Are you just too nice? Or does your opinion not really matter? And is there a big sign up in the universe somewhere that says, Alicia, I'm bringing your name into it now because I can see you. Alicia, you are destined to be walked all over because you are not brave enough to voice an opinion. No, that's not true. The universe does not do that. We all have valid opinions and thoughts and thought processes, and our beliefs are all valid because they come from us. However, if those beliefs are holding us back from progression, then it's our responsibility to overcome them. So think about how your life might be better if you were good at handling disagreements, or you were good at entering into debate, or you would be, if you had a better job because you'd put your hand up for promotion, or would your relationship be healthier because you had a two-way communication rather than just accepting all the shit that your husband throws at you? Not literally throws at you, unless he does throw things at you and then get out now. But in all seriousness, if anybody does need help, drop me a private message. Anyway, so that's the first step, is actually digging deep into, well, what are my limiting beliefs? And it's a really interesting thing to do. It can be scary. It can feel like your brain just empties of all reasonable thought and you just sit with a blank page, but it is really worthwhile digging into. So the next step is deciding whether you want to overcome them. It's a big step. Some people are like that, well, actually it doesn't make any difference if I overcome them or not, and if that's fine, just hang up, it's fine. Decide if you want to overcome them, and if you do, great. And remember that you are the owner of you. You make the decisions. You're in charge. You're in control of what you think, you're in control of what you do, and you are in control of what you believe. Remember that. So that can feel really empowering, or it can feel really, really scary. So you get to decide how that is to you. And if you want to feel scared and run away from it, you can do that because you're in control of that. But you also have the control of going, actually, do you know what? Yes, it is scary, but this is empowering, and I can change these thoughts, and I can choose to believe something different instead. And when you start to recognize your own power, that's when you start seeing growth. You're like, actually, I can do this shit. That's really empowering. That's where you start to grow. Okay. So the third step is change the language. Okay. So listening to this training tonight, this masterclass tonight, isn't me going, oh, your limiting beliefs are gone, and now you have got this growth mindset, and you're amazing, and you can go and crush life and be a millionaire and not have conflict, and you can have the mansion, and you can be thin, and you can be all these other things. Yeah, it's not like that. You actually have work to do. Now, you've got to remember, if you're 45, you've had 45 years of thinking a certain way and having beliefs that the beliefs you have. So they're not just going to suddenly vanish. They're going to crop up, and they're going to crop up as they crop up now. But when you catch yourself thinking, well, that's not for people like me, or you catch yourself saying, oh no, I can't afford it, or you catch yourself backing away from conflict because people like you don't get involved in conflict, you can physically shake it out. Like, genuinely just go, where did that come from? That's not what I think. And you repeat your new belief. Okay. So for me, it could be, or for anybody, if it's money, you can go, I'm worthy as fuck. Just shake it out and repeat an affirmation. You go, no, that's not true. I'm rich. I'm worthy. I deserve. Universe has got my back. Whatever it is that you want to say or do, you choose. But you have to practice it, getting it out, because they will keep coming. But the more you shake it out and choose to think a different way and choose to have a different opinion or belief, then the old beliefs will stop cropping up so much. Okay, so it's practice. It's like building biceps or building a booty. If you want a bigger booty or a peachier booty, you're going to have to do deadlifts and reps and squats and hip thrusters. You're going to have to keep doing reps. It's the same as anything that we're doing with our psychology. We need to practice it. We're doing mental reps. Okay, so the brain is a muscle, so it does make sense. So the fourth step is about being curious. So if you have identified that you have a belief that is holding you back from being better, being healthier, being wealthier, whatever it is, be curious, get out there and learn more, explore different people who are experts in their field, explore other people that you know who have very different beliefs from you, ask questions. By doing this, you're creating opportunities in your head. You're having, you're opening up those closed doors almost in your mind. That's a really good analogy, actually. But open up those closed doors and growing, learning, and experiencing new thought processes. And that's another area of growth that we want to do. And that sounds very woo-woo, but it's true. I'm afraid it's true. And this is all about getting outside our comfort zones. And, I'm just trying to think, like, the grumpy old man syndrome going, blah, 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 it's not for people like me, blah, 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 blah. Opening up those doors and learning new things is taking people out of their comfort zone. And when we get out of our comfort zone, we know that that's where true development happens, because we are becoming and thinking in a different way. All right, that makes sense. And the final bit, and this is the fun bit. And step number 5, and I genuinely love this bit. Start being the person that doesn't have those limiting beliefs anymore. So embody the person that doesn't have those beliefs. So this was like a really big one for me, was when we were talking about money. If you want to have money, you're going to have to start acting and thinking like a person that has money. If you want to be seen as a high performer, you're going to have to start acting like a high performer, thinking like a high performer, feeling like a high performer. If you want to be thin, you're going to have to think and act like a thin person. So what does that mean in real life? So for me being if I want to be seen as an expert in my field and be like a high performer, then that means I have to act like a high performer. So I have to have a very solid strategy. I have to have an action plan. I have to have a marketing plan. I have to have good leadership. I have to lead the team, etc., etc. If I want to be thin, I have to start thinking and acting like a thin person. What do? They say no to the cake. They go to the gym. They get their steps in. They hydrate. They do all the actions. They have discipline. If I want to be rich, start thinking and acting like a rich person. That means not saying, oh, I can't afford that, I can't do it. It means looking at your house. Would rich people live in a slobby house? No, they would not. Would they take pride in their appearance? Yes, they would. It's not about spending money you don't have, because that would be highly irresponsible, but it is looking at your money as a resource and going, okay, well, if I do this, what does that mean for me? Instead of spanking your money on takeaways and wine or shoes you don't need, you go, how do I invest this in myself to make me better, healthier, happier, richer, learning new skills, whatever. If you want to be promoted, you have to start thinking and acting like the person that has that job that you're going for. And there's actually a really funny meme. And this was, I'm sure I had this on my Facebook feed about maybe even 10 years ago. And it's like, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. And it's just a picture of a really hot woman sitting in a Batgirl outfit, smoking a fag. And I'm just like, that is absolutely genius. And if anybody finds that, please post it, because it's just like, absolutely, I want to be a superhero, so I have to start dressing and thinking and acting like a superhero. If you want to be positive and have more energy, act like the person that has more energy and has more positivity. And there's a really interesting TED Talk this has gone way over, sorry. There's a lady called Amy Cundy who's got a really interesting TED Talk. It's actually one of the most popular ones it's going back many years. It's like fake it till you make it. So if we think about how our brain works, it works on repetition. So if you're constantly trying to think positively and act positively, you will ultimately become positive. If you are practicing, if you're acting like somebody that has energy, that has focus, you will get that. You will get that over the long term, but you have to keep practicing the reps. Okay? So, embody the person, step number 5. So has that all made sense? Has anybody, I don't even know if people have commented. Hold on a wee second. If it has made sense, please give me some feedback. And if it has not made sense, Freudian slap. If it hasn't made sense, then I also want feedback. So give me your thoughts, ladies. Give me your thoughts. Who is willing to brave up and tell us if they have identified? Sorry, I'm now trying to find Facebook on my computer and get the comments up. If you have identified that you do have a limiting belief, then let me know in the comments, because I think it's really interesting. This is a genuinely a huge topic, and it's something that everybody can benefit from. I can't see the comments. Claire, I've got so many limitations. And are you working through them, Claire? Jackie, perfect, thank you. Valerie, yeah. Kick to attack the next limiting belief, absolutely. And that's actually a really good point, Laura, is, many people will identify many limiting beliefs, and I absolutely have many identifying beliefs, one of which is I'm terrible at music. But prioritise, don't try and tackle 4 at once, like trying to tackle money, self-esteem, parenting. Like, they are 3 huge topics that are going to fry your head if you try and tackle them all at once. So tackle one at a time. For most, if you're in this group, then let's look at it from a physical point of view. Limiting belief can be around weight, and that, oh, well, I've always been big, I've always been overweight, my family are all overweight. That's 2 limiting beliefs in one. It's my genetics, it's my hormones. I'm big boned, These are all limiting beliefs. Diets don't work for me. Nothing works for me. These are all limiting beliefs that are not actually true. It's just that if you've tried everything and it's not worked, you've just not got the right thing yet. It doesn't mean you just give up and be unhealthy for the rest of your life. You know, it's about, okay, well, how do I overcome this? How, you know, as, like, I've tried Weight Watchers, blah, 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 they don't work for me. That's fine. They don't actually work for 90% of the people that do them. You know, you're in the majority if it's not worked for you, not the minority. Just because Karen down the road lost 9 stone and kept it off all her life, all the other millions of people haven't. Not an organised person. Oh, Laura, this is a good one. That is a really good one, actually, and probably for you, actually going to be fairly easy for you to overcome. That's a really good one, Catherine, and also I experienced the very same thing. So all through high school, credit standard grades all the way through apart from art, and the art teacher was like that to my mum. It's just not for her, and my mum was raging because she's very artistic and she went to art school and very creative. I'm just not, but also didn't enjoy it much. I'm shite at mindset stuff. Oh, Jackie, and what would you say now that you're shite at mindset stuff? So Jackie is in our client area. I hope you don't mind me saying that, Jackie. You're in our client area. I never believe I could be the way I am now. Perfect, you know. These are all things that hold us back. And, you know, every single one of these ladies here would never, ever have pinpointed that that was actually a real challenge that would have been holding them back emotionally. So there you go. That's actually another one, like the ego factor. Ego is a huge limiting belief. I don't need coaching. I just need a meal plan and workout or whatever, or I'm too good for that, or I can do it myself. That's a big ego limiting belief. And I'm really bad for ego, and it's not ego as in the big I am, it's ego in our several different senses of ego. And if you're interested in knowing more about ego, look at Ego as the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. It's a really fascinating book about how ego holds us back. And I realise that sounds like eagle when I'm talking, but it's ego, E-G-O. So yeah, okay, right, I have to go because I've got to go and boil the potatoes. We're having gammon and potatoes with cauliflower cheese. I'm quite looking forward to it. I've not had, it's quite a healthy cheese sauce, actually. Okay, my loves, I really do hope this has made sense. I really do hope somebody can take something from this tonight, and I really do hope at least one person can figure out in their head, going, actually, do you know what? I could be better. That's my goal here. So it's been lovely to have you all here. Lovely to see some familiar names. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Speak to you all soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.